What about second breakfast?
Time for second breakfast.
What's up? Good morning, everybody. This is Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast. The first episode we did was on an album called Say Hello to Sunshine by the band Finch. And me and Danger gushed all over that album. It's an album we both love, and it's still ranked very high on our rankings. I'm not exactly sure where it is right off the top of my head, but it's up there. But you know, we didn't even play clips of every song. Like now, that's kind of a staple of the show. We play a clip of every song. Usually if there's a standout part, good or bad, we'll play that part as well. We weren't doing that back then. Now, that's not something we're probably going to do here. We're probably not going to play any more extra clips or anything like that. But we also didn't do the basics. We didn't name the band members. We didn't name who produced the album. I don't even think we said when the album came out. So that's what Second Breakfast is for. That's why I'm here. That's Monster's going to fill you in on all the details. So Say Hello to Sunshine by Finch came out June 7th, 2005. And on the episode, I think we made it pretty clear that it was sonically, it was a huge departure from what they originally sounded like. They were very much of that Midwest emo, screamo, post-hardcore kind of stuff. And when they went to Say Hello to Sunshine, they went with a much darker, I don't want to say nu metal infused, but there was a lot of nu metal on there, but it was a lot darker, and the lyrics were much of a more macabre kind of content. So one of the main reasons is because of the drummer. So this was the only album to feature Mark Allen on drums. Now, just to kind of give a rundown of the band members, we had Nate. I think we were calling him Barclaw on the episode, but I don't know that's how you pronounce it because it's spelled Barcalow. So it might be like Nate Barcalow. That's probably more accurate, but he's the vocalist. Mark Allen on drums, Randy Strawmeyer on guitar, Alex Linares on guitar, and Derek Doherty on bass. And this was actually the last album with Derek. Now, Strohmeyer is going to come up later because I cannot believe I failed to mention this on the episode, but there is an incredible story about a feud between Finch and Disturbed. And, you know, being the nu metal guy on the show, again, I cannot believe I did not bring that up before, but we'll get to that before this is over. So anyway, this was a huge, huge departure from their original sound, and pulled some stuff from the Wikipedia and some other interviews that I'll get into here. Barcalow said influences from Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana kind of filtered into this release kind of unintentionally. We did say this on the show, but his vocals were compared to Mike Patton of Faith No More. Linares said the record was a little more aggressive and a little more raw when compared to their past material. Discussing the album's title, Barcalow explained it was satire before adding that they hope this record is going to rip your face off. Anybody that listened to What It Is to Burn and their previous stuff knew that they were not the face-ripping type. Good songs, but it was definitely much more of the emo, screamo kind of thing, not like Say Hello to Sunshine was. Now, Strohmeyer said the album had an apocalyptic theme. They were going on to say that it was very dark. It's kind of like this is the last song you'll ever hear before the world blows up. This is funny. The lyrics, this was pulled straight from the Wikipedia. The lyrics often feature references to blood, flesh, fire, death, and various body parts. And that was something we were saying on the show was it's not a concept record, but it's a vibe record. Every song feels cohesive and part of this nasty story. It's not necessarily a full-fledged narrative, but everything feels connective and weird. Now, one of the things that I thought was interesting was the production on this album is really good. It sounds huge. Every song has layers of weird guitars and percussion and multiple vocal layers, but it never sounds muddy. And part of the reason I think is because there are so many people that worked on this damn album. So the main producers were a guy named Jason Cupp and Ben Moore. The guys in the band are also listed as producers, but there's a ton of people listed as assistants and additional engineers, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but basically it's safe to say there was a lot of people that knew what they were doing, that had their fingers all over this album, and I think it shows. Even by today's standards, it has a very cohesive sonic sound, and just like we said on that episode, yes, there are a lot of similarities to Glassjaw and Faith No More, and there's even some Korn and Deftones, nu metal stuff in there, but it's its own thing. Like there's very little that sounds like Say Hello to Sunshine. And like I said, this album came out in 2005, and it still holds up. Like, it's still a very cool thing. Gosh, 20 years later? Whew, God, I cannot believe this album came out 20 years ago. It's, wow. Okay, anyway, so what I cannot wrap my head around that I did not bring this up on the show. I guess maybe I was thinking like, we're just going to talk about the album. We're not going to get on sidetracks or whatever. I don't know. But there was a feud between Finch and Disturbed that happened back in 2002. Now, this was before this album came out, but this is a really wild story. So, basically, Strohmeyer, the guitar player, gave an interview to Mean Street Magazine where he made threatening remarks toward David Draiman, the lead singer of Disturbed, even saying that he hoped somebody shot him in the effing head, or he was going to shoot him in the head, or something like that, which is, you can't say stuff like that. But a lot of, so here's a quote from that article. He says, "I'd rip his stupid little piercings out. They're just cheesy. It bums me out because their music is terrible. What they're all about, it's just shit. Hopefully all that music will die out soon." Alex Papa, the original drummer, this is before the new guy joined, made similar remarks in another interview around the same time, saying, "Disturbed effing sucks. I hate that band so much. They're like the worst band I've ever heard." Now, what's funny is, Say Hello to Sunshine is one of my favorite albums. But if I had to put What It Is to Burn next to The Sickness by Disturbed, hey, you're talking to Monster, the nu metal guy. Of course I'm going to go with The Sickness. Not to say I don't like What It Is to Burn, not to say The Sickness is a masterpiece, but if I could only pick one of those albums, I would take Disturbed. But anyway, so fast forward a couple years, 2004, both bands were set to play the Rolling Rock Town Fair in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Now, quick little sidebar, I actually have been to Latrobe. I have family in Pennsylvania, very close to that area. So actually one of my cousins has been to this Rolling Rock Town Fair. They call it a town fair, but it's just one of those, like, it's a big, like, all day thing, but it's not like these like Rocklahoma and Download. It's nothing like that, but it's usually like an all day thing with 7 or 8 bands. And there's usually a couple of big ones and some, ones that were popular 5-10 years in the past. But anyway, both Finch and Disturbed were slated to play this show. So before Finch took the stage, Dan Donegan, the guitar player of Disturbed, approached Strohmeyer, and they kind of got into like a fist fight, and it actually ended up on stage. So, and there's some photos of this, and it's wild. Like, Nate, the lead vocalist of Finch, is like in a headlock, and there's guys from Disturbed and Finch fighting each other. The roadies get into it. The managers get into it. It is wild. But like I said, there's photos and stuff. It's nuts. So anyway, they got into a fist fight and they're punching each other and shoving each other, and it gets a little ugly. But somehow nobody gets seriously hurt. There's no arrest made or anything like that. And Finch still got to play their set. So Finch gets, all that happens, Finch plays their set, and as they're getting ready to come off stage, they actually had to have security come and like surround them and walk them off the stage, because members of Disturbed and members of the band Seven Dust, along with some roadies and some managers and stuff, were all waiting for Finch to get off the stage. Now, in hindsight, in some interviews with MTV, Donegan basically said he approached Strohmeyer and asked about why he said what he said about Draiman. And Strohmeyer blew him off. And that's what pissed off Donegan, and that's kind of what started everything. Now, Strohmeyer claims he apologized and tried to shake Donegan's hand, and Donegan blew him off, and that's what started everything. So he said, she said, so who knows for sure. What's really funny, and I didn't know this part of it, was apparently after that, there was for a brief moment on the internet, they tried to start this emo versus NuMetal thing, like Finch versus Disturbed, and how it was like a emo versus NuMetal thing. And around this time, give or take a few years, I don't know for sure. If we ever do a Story of the Year or a Godsmack album, I'll get into that. But not far removed from this time, there was a little bit of a similar situation between Story of the Year and Godsmack that I don't think it ever came to blows, but it was sort of like this, how this started, kind of back and forth in the media or whatever. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have. And that's kind of what I wanted to do here. I'm going to go through started episode 1, go through, think about some things that I wish I would have said or Danger would have said, that we could have brought up in the episode that we didn't. Some episodes will be a little longer, a little shorter, but I think that's pretty much it for episode 1 of Second Breakfast. A little extra information on Finch. Say hello to Sunshine. If you like this, cool. Give us some feedback. Obviously, breakdownsbreakfast@gmail.com. The Facebook page, Breakdowns for Breakfast. Also, Instagram. I know we have a TikTok, and I think we have an X. I don't know. I don't keep up with anything but the Facebook. But if you think this is cool and you like this extra content, let us know. If you'd like us to maybe try something different. Some other ideas have been kicked around, and this is kind of the one we settled on for now, but this could change over time. So if you think this is cool, if you think this is stupid, either way, let us know, give us some feedback, and we'll go from there. So thank you guys for joining us for the first episode of Second Breakfast. I am Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast, and I hope you have a great day.